everyone. Welcome to the Daily Grind. My name is Kelly Johnson, your fun and friendly host. We are on episode 33, the very best one yet. So shout out to my podcast network, Ambiguous Production, and fellow pods on there, including UMAD Bro, the Sam Bustle podcast, and GDP, Goal Driven Professionals. We're currently in the works or soon to be on SoundCloud and iHeartRadio, which is super exciting. We're getting into March already, which is crazy how time flies. Just as a disclaimer, we record our episode before the whole COVID-19 outbreak occurred across the U.S., basically. So with some of the topics that we talk about and mention, I don't want to spill the beans on tennis tournaments and the tennis season in general, but as a precautionary daily grind person out there that helps to promote wellness and healthy well-being, wanted to talk about just ways to help prevent staying safe, things of that nature. So be able to talk with people in your area, your surroundings, your workplace, get to know the different aid organizations in your community. Finally, just practice everyday preventative actions. So avoiding close contact with people who are sick, staying home when you are sick except to get medical care, cover your coughs and sneezes with a tissue, clean frequently touch surfaces and objects. So example, tables, countertops, light switches, doorknobs, cabinet handles, using a regular household detergent and water. And wash your hands often with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, especially after going to the bathroom, before eating, blowing your nose, coughing, and sneezing. So your typical, practicing good personal health habits and plan for home-based actions. So be prepared for things that come about and stay tuned to the news. Get your updates in your workplace, in your community, so you're able to protect yourself and protect others. Thank you. Back to the daily grind. Talk about sports, talk about tennis, talk about anything, to be honest. And this is going to be our first episode that we have a past episode guest on. I'm excited to give an update on him. And let me introduce you to Chris Clark. So Chris Clark, he is, or I don't even know if I should do the introduction. You listeners out there, you already know all about him. But maybe let me welcome him back on. So welcome Chris Clark. Woo.
What's up, KJ? KJ, I'm back, baby.
And I was gonna do the Mace "Welcome Back" song, but I don't know if I have the ability to do that, or I have to look to see if I have like the licensee or copyright or whatnot. But I guess maybe for our new listeners out there, Chris, do you want to tell them who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, KJ. So originally from Michigan, I played college tennis at the University of Toledo. I spent my career thus far working at Gatorade. I worked for KJ at Wilson. Had a stint at Kraft Heinz. Now I am the director of business of a sports startup called Workforce Athletics. By day, by night, I am the traveling tennis coach. I am a tennis nerd. I love to play. I love to follow it. I love to teach. It's something that, gives me great relaxation. So happy to be back on the podcast. I think, KJ, what you're doing with the podcast is super cool, super amazing, and always happy to be a guest.
Yeah, I'm always happy to have you on, Chris. We were just even off air. We were just talking about, we're trying to get each other up to speed on what's all going on in both in the neck of the woods. So last time being on the podcast, Chris Clark, we talked a lot about tennis. Your night job as traveling tennis coach. You want to give our listeners a little bit of update on that background and that business?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that the weather's starting to break, it's super exciting for me. So dusted off the rackets, and I'm actually back out teaching. So really what I'm doing with traveling tennis coaches is just a way to travel around the city and teach people of all ages, from my youngest client being 4 years old to my oldest client being about 70 years old. But really, the traveling tennis coach is something that stands for the joy of tennis. Like, I just want to teach tennis and give the game what it's given me. And the game of tennis has really provided me, with opportunities that I never would have thought was possible. So traveling tennis coach is just a fun way to teach the game and really share that love for what I do.
Yeah, I feel like with your passion for the sport and just what your background, even your introduction and everything that you've done in the community that surround you has really made a difference. And a lot of people, not just tennis players, but even the average Joe athlete or high performance, just across the board and different skill levels. So tennis is really bringing people together, such Chris and I. So yeah, Chris Clark met him through tennis basically. So super awesome to have him on, and we're definitely going to talk a lot about tennis today.
Absolutely. Thanks, KJ.
Yeah, so where should we get started? I mean, today is March, but maybe let's rewind a little bit to January. To kick off the year, we had Australian Open. So do you have any key takeaways, Chris? Just, from different matches, different players, what are folks, following on ESPN and trying to stay half awake for the midnight matches?
Absolutely, KJ. I got a lot of takeaways.
Okay.
The first takeaway, listen, let me tell you something. So the first takeaway, I was shocked to see Serena lose. Like, honestly, I thought if Serena could play in some of the warm-up tournaments, she was going to be good to go in the Australian Open. But the thing that just amazes me about people who beat Serena, like, they literally play the best match of their lives, and they kind of catch her off guard. They put her on her defense, and she just looks, not old, but just like she doesn't have it at times. So the one player and one takeaway that I'm always hoping to win, and that as long as she's playing, I'll always believe she can win, is Serena, right? So I look forward to, like, seeing her in the desert, seeing her in Miami. But I mean, I think the big push for her is going to see if she can win the French. And I mean, I think she can do it. The other, on the women's side, well, a couple more things. One is the emergence of Sophia Kenin. If I said her name right, I'm really bad with names, but everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This girl is a baller, and every time you look at her and you look into her eyes, you just see like this fight. Like, she's not going to lose. She doesn't want to lose. So I think when you look at American women's tennis, the game's in a great place, just in terms of players we have coming up, right? Now, let's look on the men's side. How did the men's do? Well, I think the one win that I would like to point out and thing that shocked me the most was, I think Tommy Paul's going to be good. He beat Grigor. And he just has, he hits a clean ball. I like watching him play. But other than that, American men's tennis, is struggling in my opinion. Obviously, we saw Novak win again, and that doesn't surprise me. But, one argument that I'm trying to create is, at the end of the day, when you look at the big three, Nadal, Roger, Novak, who's going to go down to be the best of all time? And personally, I think Novak will, because he's going to win more majors. And if we're judging off majors, he will go down as the greatest of all time. So that's my quick overview.
Yeah, that's great. That's a lot of good touch points for sure to kick off our podcast and everything. Yeah, Serena, I was really hoping for her to pull this one out. Unfortunately, even what you mentioned, caught her on a bad day, basically. And those people just play, whoever her opponent is, they just play out of their mind, or they play the best possible, to go ahead. Because, I mean, you're playing the GOAT. You're playing the GOAT of women's tennis, or possibly tennis in general, depending on what argument or what perspective that you look on. And it's unfortunate. I know a lot of other people, even big broadcasters, reporters, Johnny Mac out there supporting Serena to hopefully, beat Margaret Court's record down the road. So we're really I'm hoping for a lot of U.S. people, a lot of global tennis fans out there are hoping for her to succeed. It just depends on when's the time, and is the time now or is it later? So I guess the clock is ticking on Serena Williams. Yeah, Sophia Kenin, she's definitely, was watching some of her matches and following, she really has that, that inner self, that fire inside of her to, keep on playing and never give up. Me having a running background, I would say she has, somewhat of endurance. She's able to, keep with it. If she has, let's say she runs like her first couple miles are pretty good, but then middle of the race she kind of doesn't have the best. She's going up on a hill incline, and then she's back up through the remainder of the race, able to find that extra kick in order to add up all the points and win those games and ultimately win the match. So that's super good eye opener. Yeah, Tommy Paul, American men's tennis. Oh man, Chris, you opened up the floodgates in regards to what's gonna happen with men's tennis in the U.S. Should we talk a little bit more about men's tennis in the U.S. Davis Cup?
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, right? We have good talent, but it's just not happening, right? Like I honestly think Tommy Paul is someone I want to watch. Taylor Fritz, he got to the finals in Acapulco last week. He lost in the doll, I believe. I saw he lost the first set, but I actually never checked to see if he actually lost the match. I'm just assuming he did. But when you think about John Isner he's getting older, right? You think about some of those other guys like Sam Querrey, a couple others as well that I'm running a blank on.
Stevie Johnson, or he's not really that young.
Thank you, Stevie Johnson. You got Donald Young. You just got all these. You got Tennis Sangren. Like you got all these guys who are just like, almost like one hit wonders. So I'm really looking for like a Francis Tiafoe to kind of turn it up a level, take it up a notch. But right now, I mean, if you look at ranking wise, outside of John Isner, I mean, it really is like John Isner, and then it goes pretty much Tommy Paul, right? So we'll see what happens over the next 6 months, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really.
Tommy Paul, he has a lot of upside because if you think of it, he doesn't have any points to protect. So because of that, he should be able to really climb up the ranking. For him, it's going to be tough if he has a good year to really back it up. And that's kind of what's happening with Francis Tiafoe. You see his ranking kind of fell off because he had all those points to protect, and he wasn't able to do so.
Yeah, really good points there on the ranking and points system. What do you think, for you having a background playing college tennis as well as coaching college tennis, do you think for the future of American men's tennis, like NCAA playing on a college team, do you think that has an influence on players down the road in the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, normally, like if you look at other sports like college basketball, right? You got guys who will do a couple years and then they'll go to the league. I mean, I think, to be honest, like the best outside of John Isner, really Stevie Johnson, most tennis players don't go to college; they just turn pro because they have to dedicate that much time to it. So I feel if you are that good, that go to college online, or you can go to college, but I recommend you still stay with your other regimen, right? Is playing outside of college.
That's a really good point. Do you think too, or just for men's and even women's players too in the U.S., do you think training within the U.S. is like going down south, going to Florida or whatnot? Do you think that helps, or do you think our training facilities or just like programs or coaches, our high level performance coaches, do you think they're sufficient over here, or is that again just based on the player?
Yeah, good question, KJ. What really bugs me is, like, to be honest, like the USTA, they have all the resources they need to be successful, right? To pump out players. I don't know what more you could ask for, right? But at the end of the day, they're just not getting it done. So something has to change. But good thing is, we have a former Wilson guy leading the charge now, so maybe things can shift, right? But I think like we're not short of resources, we're not short of coaches, we're not short of players, but they need to figure out a way to get it done.
Yeah, that's something for you listeners out there to think about after this pod today, as well as maybe in the future. Feel free to hit me up down the road if you guys have suggestions, comments, questions, etc. and whatnot on the future of American men's tennis and women's tennis too. Because I mean, there's always areas of opportunity and things that you can see down the road, or that we see in today's game for sure. And then yeah, finally you touched on the big three. Chris Clark, the future of the big three, who's going to be the dominant one down the road. So maybe that's a good transition into, saw Federer's injury, surgery, etc. Postponing him getting back onto court. What are your thoughts on that?
On Fed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hey, look, right? I think we're butting up against two generations. Like, you have the Fed and then the doll, like the old school, right? And then you have this new school with my boy Slick Nick Kyrgios, right?
Yeah.
And I really feel like if you look at the younger generation, like everybody loves Fed, right? Like no one's not going to say that, but I do think kids think it's cool to see a Nick Kyrgios do well. So my big bet is while Fed is injured and he's going through his thing, right, is that a guy like Nick Kyrgios can really make his presence known. And I know he's been up and down with injuries, but I think he could really be someone special who could potentially carry the future of tennis, right, from an entertainment perspective. Because, looking at a Daniel Medvedev, that just doesn't get me excited to watch the game. And if you think about you want to find different ways to create excitement, well, you got to have guys who are talented, who are flashy. You got to have them show up, and they got to be able to play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really good points there. You hit the nail on the head in regards to, just getting more people interested in the sport and watching the sport and potentially playing down the road when they're younger or at any age really can pick up a racket. You mentioned entertainment in regards to how many people come into the stands or the stadium or arena. Past, I would say, more of the off season, I guess you could put in quotations, or just beginning of the year. Federer and Nadal kind of traveling the world in regards to putting on different foundation events and charity events. What's your take on, I guess, them doing these pop-up one-day events or weekend or everything like that? They also bring different players like Kyrgios into it, and I'm trying to think, Zverev played with Federer. Do you think that's a benefits the sport? Do you think that impacts the player in regards to their injuries or potential increases the risk for injury?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, well, let me even take a step back. Like what they accomplished, where they sold out that stadium. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's super cool, right? Mm-hmm. And that's one. It's just something. It's great to see. I think as you think about events and putting on things as it relates to tennis, how do you create that atmosphere more often, right? If you think about it, one struggle with tennis right now is like tournaments start on Mondays, right, or Tuesdays. I don't know about you, KJ, but I'm working during the day. I know you are too. So I'm not taking off work to go watch the first round of a tournament, right? But on the weekend or after work or a night session, I'll go for sure. So it's like, how do you create different product experiences with tennis, with players that will allow to put fans in the stands, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's the one thing that I think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree too. Do you think women's tennis would ever get so big for Serena, playing an exhibition match, or do you think it's going to be mainly focused on? I mean, I don't discredit any of the females out there. There's a lot of different organizations that are led by female tennis players, Serena, Maria Sharapova, just to name a few.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say from my perspective. The one thing that really just triggered me and that I was just really thought through was, Maria Sharapova retiring and this passing of the torch. Mm-hmm. And I still think, like, even with the old generation of players who are still competing, even though they're getting older and they're starting to phase out of the game, they're leaving the game in good hands, right? I think the big three on the men's side have been so dominant for so long, like, it's almost hard to imagine the game without them. And then it's scary to think what the game will look like once they're gone. You know what I mean? So for me, like even with Maria Sharapova's, retiring, I was surprised, but I think the mental toll tennis takes on not only your body, but just your mental, like your mental state is one that many people don't understand. So while I was, like, wow, she's really retiring because you just seen her play for so long, but, I'm glad she's going to do what's best for her.
Yeah, I was just gonna touch on that. Yeah, Maria Sharapova retiring kind of just like out of the blue. It wasn't tied around a Grand Slam or a specific tournament compared to for you listeners out there, Caroline Wozniacki retired at the Australian Open. So Maria kind of retired at just kind of an off I guess period in the tournament schedule. I did notice her, though, too. She just aired on an episode of Shark Tank. So she is still involved in just being, I guess you could say, I don't know if you want to say like a role model, but influential individual in both the sports realm and outside the sports realm. Yeah, Chris, do you have any more, I guess, comments on her retirement?
No, I mean, I think even when you think of Carolina Wozniacki, right? Like just seeing her go and seeing some of these players transition into the next stage of life is both sad, but it's also exciting for them, right? Just have this in your mind that a lot of these players are going to continue to play for a long period of time, but all of a sudden one day you're just like, oh, well, she retired. Oh, well, they're going away. So I think it shows you like you really have to cherish, excellence and athletic ability while you're able to watch it, because that's not going to last forever. You're not going to be able to see a Maria Sharapova or Wozniacki or even Serena. I think Venus is on her way out soon as well, and she's had an amazing career. So just really being able to cherish that is something special.
Yeah. Okay, how about on the flip side? So we had Maria Sharapova retiring. We also saw Kim Clijsters, for those of you listeners out there. She was on tour in the past. She was recently actually inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame, and then she had a tweet out there that she's like coming back, and she's played, I believe, at least one match so far. I haven't been following her that closely on how many matches or what tournaments she's entering, but she did play one against Garbine Muguruza. Yeah, Chris, what are your thoughts on her returning back on tour?
Kim Clijsters is in the building. Listen, I think it's super exciting. Just to see her back on tour, because she was such a dominant force when she was here. So those are the stories that kind of make you pay attention, right? Because one, we all want to see, can she get back somewhere remotely close to what she was? And then you always know what she's capable of. So then you're kind of always thinking like, man, can she do it, right? And then, of course, there's always the oxymoron where she'll run up against Serena in the first round, or she'll play a top 10 player first round. But yeah, she lost to Muguruza in straight sets, but it's just cool to see her back out there. And while she lost the first set 6-2, the second set was 7-6, with 6 in the breaker, so she definitely can play. And she's 36, feeling good. So I'm curious to see, like, can she get back into the picture of the Grand Slam? It's just another equation that makes the game exciting.
Yeah, I think so too. And she draws, like what you mentioned before, a little bit of entertainment, because people like you and I and other tennis fans out there, they recognize her name. They know who they are and what she's done. She's come off a really great career, being on tour from, I don't know how you want to say, the open air or whatever her time span was, but she definitely adds more energy and more excitement to the tournaments, both Masters and Grand Slam. So yeah, I'm excited to see what she's going to do down the road, and who to look out for possibly in our upcoming Sunshine tournaments. So yeah, let's look ahead. This is coming up basically right around the corner. Indian Wells, Miami Open. So, yeah, Chris, do you want to kind of give our listeners a preview on what's to come in these next, tournaments. I guess maybe first of all, do you want to tell our listeners like the importance or just what these sunshine tournaments really are on the tournament schedule? I guess or how they feed into the upcoming Grand Slams.
Yeah, so you're speaking specifically about Palm Springs and the Miami Open, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wells. Yeah, no, so these are kind of what I like to call is like the first major tournament outside of the Australian Open. So you get people back in the swing, they're back on hard courts, they're back in the States practicing. So they're two really, in my opinion, really special tournaments because all of the major players play these tournaments, and it's kind of like a grand slam. A grand slam without actually being a grand slam. So for me, and I still remember my experience of going to Indian Wells this year. I'm actually going to go to the Miami Open, and it's going to be hot, and I'm going to sweat through my shirt like I'm playing, but I won't be playing. But no, if you could see two tournaments outside of the majors, I would definitely recommend you go to these two. But it's hard to say what to look for. I mean, on the men's side, I think Gael Monfils is playing amazing tennis. I think Dominic Thiem is obviously playing well too. So I would look for one of those guys to really have a breakthrough. And then my guy Slick Nick, he could make an impact. And then not to forget, you still have Nadal, you still have Joker, you still have Daniel Medvedev. You still have these other guys who can make an impact. On the women's side, I think it's a toss up in the air. You never know what may happen. I think there's a handful of players who could win it, but I think it's so up in the air. One thing I would recommend: don't bet on it because you never know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you actually don't know what's gonna happen. I think we're too early in the stage yet. I don't think they've released the rankings or the draws yet. I think we're just a little too early for you listeners out there. But feel free to check out both of the tournament websites in the weeks to come, and they'll put those live right away. I'm excited for them as well because they're in the U.S. That means they're on the normal time that they air the matches, so I'll be able to see some of them. So yeah, looking to not have to stay up super late or wake up really early to watch what's to become the show and everything. Shout out to Nick Kyrgios though, because I went to the Milwaukee Bucks game last weekend, and he was wearing a Milwaukee Bucks jersey when he was practicing or doing some interview the last couple of days. So supports the right team. Swerving. Yeah, he wears like every single NBA team jersey, but he looks good in a Milwaukee Bucks one. Just saying. So.
I can't confirm that, but yeah, he's a cool dude.
He's cool guy. I guess maybe. Chris? Do you want to talk a little bit about? We're in the month of March, so March Madness is coming up right around the corner. We're actually in a big month of sports, to be honest, or just a transition phase, or tennis is heating up even more. Baseball's in spring training. We got basketball. We got college basketball, and then we got regular NBA. Playoffs are right around the corner. We're just in the the hot spot in regards to watching, going places for sports.
Yeah, absolutely, KJ. I mean, I don't think you could pinpoint it any better than you did, right? So you have conference championships of basketball, and then going to the NCAA tournament, which we all love. For tennis, we have the Miami Open, we have Indian Wells, then we go to the clay thing, and then you jump back and you have NBA. So, and then you have the start of baseball. So, if you are a fan of sports, this is a great time to just pay attention and see what happens. But more importantly, like, see how sport brings us all together, right? No matter our backgrounds, no matter our differences, like, this is a time where if you sit back and watch, whether you're with your coworkers, whether you're with your friends, whether you're with people you don't know, just the power of sport and how sport brings each of us together.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, too, it kind of motivates me as an athlete to, participate in different leagues or, sign up for tournaments or whatnot. I played in a tennis tournament, I think, 2 weeks ago, roughly. I think you listeners out there, I gave you all a preview on the USTA NTRP sectional qualifier entered. Yours truly did okay. Did not do the best of my ability. Was a little rusty. I could ask Chris Clark over here, and definitely for a tennis player to improve, I need practice and I need more time on the court.
That's all right, KJ. Listen. No, I mean, like, the reason we all play sports, right? Imagine if you knew you were going to win every time you stepped onto the court. Like, I don't think you would necessarily train as hard. Even, like, you look at Federer and Novak, like, they win a lot, but they don't know for a fact that they're going to win. And I would argue anybody who disagrees, like, the reason they train, the reason they do what they do is because they figure, like, if they don't, they're going to lose, right? So, to me, I think you just have to you got to stay with it, right? Like, really take a step back. And this is something I've learned to do, whether it's in work or tennis or whatever, is just take a step back and ask, like, why, and understand what happened. You know what I mean? Don't move on to the next thing or run on to the next piece of your life. Like, truly try to understand it and then figure out what adjustments you can make that will, in a way you can get better. And then you will do it, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I was just gonna get us kind of like into our next segment in regards to helping improve the average tennis player out there, or different topics in regards to myself as a tennis player, or that league player. I'd say beginner up to like intermediate advanced player. So for me, coming back from a tournament, which I ended up being the consolation champ for my singles division, which was pretty good for the most part. I was satisfied by that, depending on how much time I had in order to train for it. But now me, after leaving a tournament and not achieving my goal, how can myself or that listener out there bounce back from a tough loss or a tough ending to, like, I don't know, like a league, and like let's say you lose the last final playoff of the season. So me coming into the next upcoming season or tournament, how can I bounce back? Like what should I do? I guess next steps.
Yeah, absolutely, KJ. The biggest thing I would say is, one, understand that losing is a part of the game, in all games. Two, look at it like, right, most people don't learn when they win, they learn when they lose. So being able to really, like, again, take a step back and look through your loss and try to understand, like, why did it happen? What could I have done better? Give you an example. This is a great example. So last night I'm watching the Florida State women's team take on Ohio State. Mm-hmm. And it's 3-3 in the match, and they're in a second set tiebreaker, and Florida State is up 5-2. The Ohio State player comes to the net, and the Florida State girl tries to drill her with the ball. She misses, and right then I said she's going to lose this set. It was a silly miss, but she did. She ended up losing the match, right? And Ohio State won. But again, it's like those small opportunities that can really make a large impact, where you have to really just sit back and really learn from those mistakes. And if I was coaching at Florida State, I would tell the girl, I'd be like, listen, this is where the match turned, where you tried to hit her as opposed to just hitting the easy pass. And instead of the score going, having multiple match points, you go and it gets tighter, and then you double fall, and then she hits a winner, and then you miss a ball, and all of a sudden you lost the second set. And that's like the cool thing about tennis is, like, 1 minute someone's winning, the next minute they're getting crushed. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Really good advice for myself and listeners out there. Another thing too, let's say if I was, aware of myself being up a set, and then second set I start losing a couple games, and I realize something's not working for me, or how can I adjust? Do I adjust my game? Do I adjust my strategy? Is it a mental, physical, barrier? How can I overcome that hump in order to go back into my zone?
Absolutely, KJ. I think the one thing is, like to slow things down. A lot of people, when things start going bad on the tennis court, it snowballs. So you go from being down a break to 2 breaks, and all of a sudden, not only have you lost a set, you're down a break in the third. So really just try to slow things down and break your opponent's momentum, right? Especially if you're struggling at the moment. But the one thing I always revert back to, even when I play, is like, whether I'm struggling or not, whether I'm losing or winning, like at the end of the day, you want to make a lot of balls. Like you want to make your opponent play, because none of us are playing on the tour. We're bound to miss shots. We're bound to make mistakes, and lots of them. So the more balls you can put into play, the better, especially when you're down. Because once people get in a rhythm, like if I'm up 6-1, 3-0, like I'm in a rhythm. So I'm putting my foot on the gas, and I'm starting to play in an unconscious state. So if you can break that rhythm and get me thinking more as your opponent, that's when it's going to be good for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that really makes sense.
Hey KJ, I'm spitting some fire, ain't I?
Yeah, I like it. This is great. This is a speed agility workout here. Just me, Kelly Fast, giving you all these questions, and you're gonna respond back. How about I got one more in game kind of strategy. Let's say I'm doing really well in my match. I won the first set. I'll just say it's the best 2 out of 3. I won the first set. Second set, I'm about, I don't know, like 4-2, let's say. So I have about 2 more games left to win. How do I finish off? And let's say if I'm playing someone that's kind of, I wouldn't say exactly a Sophia Kenin, but someone that's has that endurance possibly that could overturn the match. How can I close, finish the match so I can get that W?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple things I recommend. One, take your time each point, especially on your serve. Once you're up, try to make sure you hold serve and play point by point. Meaning, if you make a bad mistake, let it go. But you got to take your time, especially on your serve, because if not, momentum in tennis switches with a couple of shots. So when you hit the winner, you make a mistake, you double fault, all of a sudden you're back on serve. So number one thing is to focus on taking your time and then focus on executing. Really focus on building points. And by building points, I mean really going out and attacking your opponent's weaknesses, really setting up your points, really focusing on your serve, really being very intentional and deliberate with what you want to do on the tennis court.
Very good. Yeah, this is great. This is good key takeaways and advice for you players out there, listeners that are walking on the court. You got your next league match later this week, where you got upcoming tournament. This is really good advice from Chris Clark, the traveling tennis coach here, in regards to what you do to improve your game as well as sustain your strengths and get the W or achieve your goals. What you're looking to get out of your match or sport, and you could apply it. You could possibly apply this to other sports or what you're training or what you're working to do. I guess, Chris, what's going on outside the court, off court? You want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably 5 months ago, I started working for a new San Francisco-based startup called Workforce Athletics, which is pretty cool. We do premium sports leagues for companies, so imagine these epic sporting experiences, almost like you're going to a Bulls game, and you want to be in the game, but you're not good enough, except we created that same atmosphere, except it's Google playing LinkedIn and basketball, and they have jerseys and coaches. So really going after employee engagement, 100% inclusive, and really focusing on team building, right? In the past, team building's been a lot about, hey, let's go grab a few beers. Now team building can be on a court, on a soccer field, playing volleyball, doing different things. So I'm pumped about it. We're launching in Chicago March 28th. So stay tuned. More to come. You'll have to bring me back on so I can tell you how it goes. Yeah,
that's super exciting. It's just right around the corner. Yeah, with team building, I think that's a really key component in having a positive work culture and environment. And you talked on employee retention, so people that feel good at work, passionate what they do, they're going to continually do, and It sounds like these premium sports leagues really help with that objective in the workplace. So yeah, you touched on growing in Chicago now too. Is it limited to different companies, different teams, or different sports?
No, so we've been up and running in the Bay for about 3 years, which is always good. But now we're expanding into Chicago, and I'm leading up that expansion. We're also looking at in 2021 going to about 7 different additional markets. So we are growing and we have funding. So we got to make sure Chicago is a success so we can continue to expand and hire people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Love to see the growth and excited to hear down the road. And for sure, we're definitely, you listeners out there want Chris Clark back on. We want him back on the Daily Grind soon. So stay tuned for that in regards to what's all coming up down the road. Yeah, I know Chris Clark, every day is different for you. But maybe you want to walk our listeners through like I wouldn't say a typical day, but maybe pick spin the wheel and pick a day of the week, and let's hear the rundown. I know you're busy and stuff, but you travel a little bit and whatnot. Do you want to how do you balance, staying organized and working on different things throughout the day, and also, finding different ways to de-stress after work?
Yeah, absolutely. A couple things, KJ, with that. I mean, if anything I've learned over the last month is, even more now than ever, is that life is short. And I really believe in one, spending your time. We all have jobs, but, spending as much time as possible doing what you love to do, whether that's work, whether that's tennis, whether that's family, wife, husband, kids, whatever it is. Like, don't take the people in your life for granted. So for me, I always want to make sure, one, after my experience working at Craft, that I was going to enjoy what I was doing. That was the sole number one thing, and I was going to spend as much time around just my loved ones, friends, and family that I could. So balancing all that is just like, hey, really looking at what I want to do over the course of a year. So in terms of staying organized, making sure I'm hitting my targets at work. I have targets for the traveling tennis coach, making sure I'm hitting those. And then, not missing those important moments, right? Being there for friends for big birthdays, being there for family for big birthdays. I've been blessed to be able to find ways to be able to fly and get to see people. So that's just how I live, and that's how I want to continue to live. And it varies for people, right? The way I live isn't necessarily the model that's going to work for you. But like I say, I'm going to do me, and you're going to do you. Do you to the best of your abilities, and I'm going to do me to the best of my abilities.
Wow. Yeah. Really, really well said there, Chris. We talked about what you do daily and what your motivation is and everything on a daily basis. Now, what's on your daily grind in the upcoming weeks later this year?
Just really staying very focused and deliberate about what I want to do, the remainder of the year. So whether it's venturing into real estate like I have, making sure that I fill the court time that I rented for the traveling tennis coach, and then, watching the successful launch of almost like a startup within a startup. So really that's the 3 things that I'm going to be doing. And one thing that I've learned throughout my corporate career, just career in general, is to really focus on what you're good at. You know what I mean? Like, we can spend a lot of time trying to make our weaknesses our strengths, but, I really believe in doing what I love to do and then really doubling down on my strengths, right? Because I believe your strengths will outshine any weaknesses that you have, and then building a team here in Chicago that can complement, some of the weaknesses I have, maybe their strengths, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, really well said there in regards to, just, utilizing your strength and improving upon that strength, and, recognizing what you're good at and what you're passionate about, and, spending that time doing what you love. I think that's really important, and it's a key takeaway on our daily grind and our fellow daily grinders out there on previous episodes on different stories that we've had from different guests on our show. Chris, do you have a word of the day to motivate our listeners out there?
I'm going to be real. So there was this there was this poem or quote by Marianne Williamson. Have you heard it? Our Deepest Fear?
No. Please share.
All right, so our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
Yeah. Let's let that resonate with you listeners out there. Very good quote. Word of the day. Hopefully motivation, like you mentioned, in what you're doing in your own daily grinds, and what you're doing to motivate others, inspire others, and improve your own self, and do something that you're passionate about. So, Chris, finally, if they want to get in touch with you after the podcast, can you refresh us? How can we reach out to you?
Absolutely. I'm on a little social fast right now, but you can check me at thetravelingtenniscoach.com as well as at the Traveling Tennis Coach on the gram. Follow your boy.
Heck yeah. We will put Chris's contact info in today's show notes. Thanks again for tuning in to today's episode, and a big thank you for Chris for being on our podcast. When it comes to sharing my story, be sure to follow the Daily Grind at KJF Daily Grind on Instagram, and meet your host at Kelly J. Lefty on Instagram or Twitter. Be sure to go to our podcast network website, ambiguousproduction.com, for more content such as You Mad Bro, the Sam Bustle Podcast, and GDP, Goal Driven Professionals. Listen on Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. Until next time, my name is Kelly Johnson. Have a great day.
Thanks, KJ.